when you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality. Who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Hi, I'm John Mallis. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me here on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Again, we are talking politics. A person who is running for sheriff, not here in Fresno County, will tell you where. Hey, the June 3rd primary is fast approaching. 436 MeTV option 11. If you live in the county we're talking about or about to talk about, you may want to call in and do turn down the sound. We're back with our program in just a moment. It's political overload here on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno, Comcast Channel 187, 43.6, because once again we're talking politics. Of course, the June 3rd primary fast approaching. It's just around the corner, and so all of, well, I don't want to say all this week, but much of this week and much of last week we focused on the candidates running for office. Much of those, many of those candidates were running for city council. And tomorrow, hey, by the way, I want to mention about tomorrow's show because Sheriff Margaret Mims will be here from Fresno County. She is running, of course, but she has no chance at losing the race. And when she appears, we always get a lot of phone calls, so be prepared tomorrow. Today, we have another person who is running for sheriff, not here in Fresno County against Margaret Mims, but we're going to venture outside Fresno County and talk about the Madera County Sheriff's race. I want to show you a picture of the man who is currently the Madera County Sheriff. He's been in there for many, many years. His name is John Anderson, now serving his third term as sheriff and coroner in Madera County. He's been there about 14, 15 years. No doubt Anderson is at his moments in the sun, busting up quite a few pot grows in rural areas of Madera County, but Anderson has been heavily criticized in the past for his drinking, his conviction of drunk driving in West Sacramento back in 2000 while driving a county vehicle. Further, Madera County no longer responds to emergency calls having to do with drunk drivers. Other things we've heard about for years, the deputies there inside the department are unhappy with the workplace and how things are being run. And that's there's been a lack of leadership in that department now for many years. So John Anderson, been there, a staple there in Madera County for many years, not running for re-election. Live in our studio is the man who wants to replace John Anderson, Greg Noll, currently a member of the Fresno Police Department. He's been there many, many years. He's a 29-year veteran, police officer veteran, and so he is here to take your phone calls. 436 MeTV option 11. Do call in, do turn down the sound. Greg Noll is here. He's running for Madera County Sheriff. We're back with our program in a moment.
Now why don't you tell us the whole story right from the beginning? All right, from the beginning. This is the city, Los Angeles, California. My name's Friday. I carry a badge. Police officers.
You any idea who the other man was?
My partner's Bill Gannon.
Program?
We got just one big question.
Yeah.
When?
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Yes, and as they used to say on Dragnet, just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. That's what we're trying to get to today. Just the facts, my friend. 436 MeTV option 11. Do call in. Do ask Greg Noll some questions. Greg is here. Good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Great, John. Thanks for having me.
Hey, so no problem. Just the facts, Greg.
Absolutely. That's the way I run.
So I mentioned in the monologue that you've been involved in law enforcement for what, 29 years?
Yes, sir.
Here in Fresno, how long?
You know, in 21 years here in Fresno.
Yeah, that's a long time.
You know, it's been a great career. It's been a great agency to work at. I've got great leadership that I worked for within the Fresno Police Department. I was unique in regards to the fact that I got to work 8 years at Santa Cruz Police Department, which was a unique experience.
Yeah, I was going to mention that's where you started.
Absolutely.
Your policing career, so to speak. So what do you do now for Fresno PD? You're a patrol officer, right?
I'm a patrol sergeant. I supervise and I'm responsible for officers in the Northeast District of Fresno.
Yeah, and before then, I mean, you're not a desk guy. You don't sit behind a desk. Even though you've been on the force 20 plus years, you're not secluded in some cubicle taking notes and
no, that's not my style.
You don't like doing that.
No, I like being out with the men and women and leading them by example.
Yeah, but you know, if you get elected,
yes,
you're going to be pushing a lot of paper.
Oh, I understand that, but there's a role of the sheriff, in my opinion, that you need to be leading by example. You need to be out front. You need to be willing to assist them in their job. And as a sheriff, that's what I plan on doing.
Why is this race so important? You know, Anderson has been there a long time. He's had his share of problems, as mentioned in my monologue.
Yes.
Is that one of the reasons why you're running?
No, I'm running because I grew up in Madera County. I'm from that area. I went to high school up in the Oakhurst area. And I was approached by deputies almost 2 years ago. And they to run. And they were encouraging me, saying, hey, we don't think the sheriff is going to run, and we would like some change in leadership. And they liked what I brought to the table. The fact that I worked at a busy police agency that's known for its professionalism. They came to me and said, hey, think about it.
Why did they approach you? There are other people running. Why did they approach you, and did they tell you they're disenchanted with what has been going on in the Sheriff's Department over there?
There's some frustration. There are terrific men and women that work for that agency, and there's a frustration factor regarding staffing levels and the budgetary cuts and the fact that they lost quite a few positions in the downturn in the economy. And I think they're looking just for a change, for somebody that has worked at a larger agency that brings a fresh newness approach with innovative strategies as we move forward.
All right, we're talking with Greg Noll. He is running for sheriff in Madera County. So let's talk about the budgetary issues.
Yes.
You're going to have some budgetary constraints, restraints perhaps, and how are you going to deal with that? Because there's only so much money that your department can work with. And how much money would that be, roughly speaking?
Roughly speaking, their budget is just over $10 million. But one of the things that I plan on doing immediately is starting different foundations called the Sheriff's Foundation to help supplant some of the issues related to funding for ballistic vests or for the COP programs, programs like that. Another thing I plan on doing right away is seeking additional grants, both state and federally, to try to help with some of the budgetary problems that Madera County is facing.
Do you have someone who can write those grants?
I have written my own grants for the department that I work for. I have
you have the experience then.
Absolutely. I've written and secured grants and managed them, and I plan on providing guidance to people within the organization as we set forth on this path.
Are those grants going to be difficult to get based on the fact that we're not great financially around the country?
No, absolutely. But one thing I plan on doing is doing an analysis of our department size to similar departments. And I'm almost positive that when I look at the end results of that, it's going to make things a little bit easier to maybe get higher consideration for those type of grants.
All right, you've got, 90 plus officers on duty?
Deputies, yes, sir.
Deputies on the Fresno County, or Madera County Sheriff's Department over there. Do you plan on hiring any more?
Oh, absolutely. They have an attrition rate of about 3 to 5 per year, and my goal is to get us back up to full staffing. They lost 15 positions in the downturn in the economy, and my number one goal is to try to get back up.
Those 15?
Those 15 within
plus
the first...
maybe more?
Absolutely. Within the first 2 or 3 years of my administration is my plan.
Okay, so $10 million Where does most of that money go? Where is it spent? Do you know where it's been spent the last few years?
A lot of it
within
is
that department.
Well, anytime you look at a police department or sheriff's department and the budget, a lot of it goes to has to do with the personnel costs, salaries and benefits related to it,
and retirement.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
One of the things that I'm really proud of, out of all of the deputies or people that I've talked to within the department, they have told me that salary isn't the big issue. The issue is just having people there to respond and to answer those calls for service. It's always been staffing related the last 2 years worth of conversations.
That's where the majority of the money goes, is for staffing.
Yes.
Primarily. And behind the scenes, within the sheriff's department, dispatchers, I don't know. I mean, have you looked at that staffing in depth to see what you may need besides maybe more deputies out there?
Absolutely. The budget for the sheriff's department is over 100 pages long. So in looking at their budget, there's a lot of different entities and there's a lot of different additional funding that comes in through grants, and I've been going over that for the last 2 years.
Okay. You've got, what, 2,200 square miles?
Yes, sir.
In Madera County. I keep wanting to say Fresno County, but it's Madera. Okay. You cover roughly what they're I don't know, maybe between 150, 200,000 people live in Madera County. I've heard a lot of varying figures, but nobody knows the exact figure probably.
Just over 150,000.
Just over 150,000. Everything is spread out.
Yes.
What's the biggest issue facing the department when you look at a county that's everything is spread? It's not like that in Fresno County.
Right.
It's not like that within the city of Fresno. So it's a different animal. How do you deal with that?
Well, when you look within the department, the biggest issue is staffing and getting back up to where at least they were and trying to improve.
Response time? Response
time, now when you're looking for the job that you do out there, it's unique. The mountains has a different need than the valley. In the valley is a lot of it gang-related crime and crime that's related to drugs. And up in the mountains, it has to do with pot grows. Pot grows is a big one. And some of the, in the smaller communities, the homeless related crime. People that are down on their luck and don't have a place to stay, and then they commit crimes to survive.
How about methamphetamine?
Methamphetamine, it's
still huge?
It's still a problem here in the valley, but it's not the #1 problem for Madera County. Madera County is dealing with large marijuana grows on a consistent basis.
And that's what John Anderson has had to deal with
Yes.
the past several years.
Absolutely.
Those pot grows. Where do you stand on marijuana? Let's talk a little bit about that, because usually, anytime we mention marijuana, the use of marijuana, pot grows, legally, illegally, we get a ton of phone calls. Speaking of which, you can answer that after the phone call. Good morning, you're on. Connect with me. What's your question?
Yeah. Hi, I was just calling to see if he does get elected as sheriff, will he be addressing the problem that, I read in the Fresno Bee about a lawyer accusing even Madera County for not picking up an inmate and allowing him to be released into the street so he can go take a high-speed chase and then kill somebody? Will that still be going on in Madera? Or is he going to make sure that people, clamp down on that, don't allow that to happen? Just that's the question.
Okay, I'll let you pick it up. Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. The thing that's unique about Madera County, it's one of 3 counties throughout the state of California that has its own Department of Corrections. So the jail, meaning the jail is not under control of the sheriff in Madera County. Very unique.
It's under control by who then?
Department of
Corrections controls the jail.
Yeah, at Madera. In Madera County, and they have their own director that is in charge of
So it's
jail.
a separate entity.
Completely separate.
Okay, and why is that better?
Well, I don't know if it's better. Some people would debate that. One of the things that, as sheriff in Madera County, that you have is you have your patrol operations, your investigative services and handling calls, but then you also have the coroner's office. So it allows you a narrower focus where you don't have to worry about the issues at the jail that's being handled by a separate entity. And that's an advantage.
And you would also be the coroner, right?
Yes.
Is that a conflict?
No, what happens is that Madera County contracts out to a physician that does the coroner work. You review cases, you review the cause of death, and you go over those issues. But the ultimate determination of that is done by a medical professional.
Could it be brought up, though, by a defense attorney, hey, the evidence was tainted, and you wear 2 hats, sheriff and coroner. You know, let's say I'm a defense attorney, I could argue that point.
Well, sure. That's what attorneys do. They like to argue different points.
Right. You're not worried about that.
I'm not worried about that. The issue that's happened quite frequently throughout the entire state of California. In fact, Fresno County is just going back to the coroner's office being under the sheriff's office control.
And that will happen next year when Dr. David Haddon steps down. He doesn't run for re-election. So
correct.
And so you agree with that concept?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. We are talking with Greg Noll. He is running for Madera County Sheriff. And you are welcome to call in 436 MeTV option 11. Do turn down the sound. A lot more to talk about here with Greg in just a moment.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean Dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here with our conversation with Greg Noll, running for Madera County Sheriff, and you know, the caller brought it up, and I'll kind of re-ask the question a little bit in a different way. And you have so many rural areas out there in Madera County, so much, you know, it's wide open space. Are you worried about some of these high-speed car chases that have occurred in the past?
We in law enforcement are always worried about high-speed chases. As a supervisor at the police department that I work at, that's one of our highest liability issues that we have to continually monitor when they take place.
You look at Highway 12 out there. I mean, that's like a racetrack.
No, I get you.
You get into a high-speed chase there. I mean, you could be topping speeds of 150 miles an hour.
Well, I've never gone 150. Sounds like a little bit of fun, but the reality of it is...
No, but you know what, I'm exaggerating,
exactly.
But you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and that's why it's so important for training, and that's one of the things that I feel I bring that's unique to the office, for the fact that we have a regional training center that's known throughout the state now with our new training facility here at the Fresno Police Department. My hope is that when I'm elected as sheriff in Madera County, that we're going to utilize that location to work on our skills and become more proficient.
What would be, if you were elected, what would your department policy be on the high-speed chases?
Well, the department policy would regulate that which is required by the state. You have to use due regard, and you have to, everything that you do regarding pursuits have to be, you have to use common sense approach to it. And so my policy is going to be based on state law as well as a common sense approach. Is it worth ultimately catching this person for that type of violation?
And possibly hurting someone else.
Absolutely. If it's a traffic violation, you have to have things in place. It's kind of a check and balance system.
If it's a homicide suspect, then you take it a little more seriously than, say, a guy that robbed a 7-Eleven, right?
Absolutely.
A guy that robbed a 7-Eleven, you're more apt to let him go. Let's not put too many people at risk. But if it's a homicide suspect, hey, you know,
well,
you may call other agencies to join in.
Well, absolutely. One of the things that when you work for counties or even when you work for cities is that you have the ability to get assistance through other agencies. And the Highway Patrol, they've always been very good about assisting in the agency that I work at when needed.
Marijuana grows. Where do you stand on marijuana? There's talk about legalizing it here in California. Fresno County, Fresno City said no more pot grows. That's it. That's the end of it. A lot of people upset about it. What's your stance, and where does Madera County stand on that?
Well, Fresno County is doing the right thing in regards to saying no more, and the reason is that when the law was passed for medical marijuana use in California, they didn't realize the impact that it would have on law enforcement negatively. And where I stand is that as the law is written now, I'm not in support of any type of medical marijuana, because what's happened is it's turned into profit for many, many people. And all of a sudden, what was a good idea for medical purposes is now turned into a profitable business, most of which are cartel-based and or gang-based.
Okay. Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. Caller, go ahead.
I was listening to your interview with the candidate for sheriff in Madera, and wow, I can't believe that Department of Corrections operates the jail in Madera, so that must mean that budgetarily Madera gets a whole lot more bang for their buck if they don't have to underwrite the cost of incarceration of criminals in Madera. And part of my question is, do you have to reimburse DOC for the use of jail space, the jail beds? And then my other question was regarding the pot grows and the possibility of getting federal state grants for law enforcement and eradication of marijuana grows. Could it include aircraft for Madera County in the future? There's two questions for your guest. Thank you.
Well, in answering the first question, specifically Department of Corrections and the inner workings of their department, I am not familiar with. I can tell you from a law enforcement...
You don't have to reimburse them then?
No. From a law enforcement perspective, we do assist the jail, having to do with the courts and the sheriff's department's involved in the court process in Madera County.
Right.
But the Department of Corrections...
You don't pay for processing and all that kind of stuff. They do it.
There's a minimal fee.
There is a minimal fee.
Yeah.
But you don't have to worry about jail upkeep. And are they releasing like we're releasing here in Fresno County?
No. Madera County's been fortunate enough where they haven't had to go to that type of extremes.
Okay. So how many are you releasing a day, do you think?
Well, in Madera County...
Compared to Fresno?
Almost none.
Almost none?
And the reason being is in Madera County, they're citing out, for anything under $50,000 of warrants, which we've been doing in Fresno County for quite a few years.
Then why are we here in Fresno releasing 60, 80 prisoners a day, non-violent offenders, and Madera's releasing hardly any?
Well, a lot of it has to do with having a very large city in a county. I mean, with the size of the city of Fresno, of over 500,000 people, that creates a big need in regards to overload. Absolutely.
And Madera doesn't have the overload because it's a smaller area.
Smaller area. I mean, the entire...
And how big's the jail over there?
Last I heard, they were at 402 beds, but they were increasing up to over 450
And are they
beds.
full?
I heard they're getting close to being full.
They're getting close, so that's probably why they're not releasing.
Right.
Okay, Greg Noll is here. Glad to have him along. He's running for Madera County Sheriff, and glad to have your phone calls at 436-MeTV option 11. We'll ask him a little bit more about the marijuana. We'll ask him about guns. You may want to join in on the conversation. Back in a moment.
1 Adam 12.
This is Adam 12. It stars Martin Milner as Officer Pete Malloy, Kent McCord as Officer Jim Reed.
1 Adam 12, roger.
This black and white patrol car has an overhead valve V8 engine. It develops 325 horsepower at 4,800 RPMs. It accelerates from 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. It has a top speed of 120 miles an hour. The automobile has 2 shotgun racks, one attached to the bottom portion of the front seat, one in the vehicle trunk.
You want me to drive?
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Well, it's not quite 1 Adam 12 here on the set at Connect with Me on this day, but we are talking politics and, we are talking law enforcement. And unfortunately, you can't avoid politics even though you're a law enforcement officer in any way, shape, or form. In law enforcement now, even if you're a sergeant, okay, in Fresno County, if you get embroiled in some kind of controversy, the problem in today's world is everybody's got a cell phone and a camera and videotape. How has that increased the pressure to do the right thing as a police officer?
Well, what it's forced is that we talk about that on a daily basis to the men and women I lead in regards to you never know when a camera's going to come on nowadays, and it's important
It's easy with a cell phone.
It is.
I got a video camera right here.
Absolutely, and that's why the professionalism is such an important part of our profession now more than ever before.
Yeah, to do the right thing.
Do the right thing and make an integrity-based decision and make sure that you abide by the policies and procedures that are in place.
Yeah, because look at how many instances that we've seen with people that have videotaped officers perhaps crossing the line or doing the wrong thing, And that's not, and I don't want to paint a broad brush because the majority are probably, they're okay, they're doing their job.
Well, many times what's been nice is that we've been using different footage that's taken to prove that officers have done the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not always negative. I mean, unfortunately, many of the negative things come out in the press, and that's what gets sensationalized. But many times we use video. In fact, officers now are starting to carry their own video on their person, so that way they have evidence.
They have their own record.
Right, exactly.
Right. Hey, that's a smart idea. Greg, the second question the caller had was about marijuana.
Right. And he mentioned, you know, about using air support for that type of function. Unfortunately, with the budget in Madera County, to utilize air support would be a very expensive thing to do if the county had to just be the low participant in this. Now at the state level, and we do investigations with state departments and drug-related crimes, we can utilize their items for that.
Good morning, you're on Connect with Me. Your question, please.
Yes, I have a question for your guest. My question is, well, actually it's been a while since I lived up at Oakhurst in the Bass Lake area, but when I was there in the evenings, and they used to have like one officer for that whole area. I mean, I'm talking about eastern Madera County, almost from Yosemite, North Fork, Bass Lake, Oakhurst, and I was just wondering if that's changed, and if it hasn't, will it change under your leadership?
Absolutely.
Thank you, and I'll just listen to it over the air.
Okay, well, thank you for calling. I appreciate that. Being a resident of the Oakhurst area and being, you know, from the area, that's where I grew up, I agree with you. There's the coverage is an issue. And one of the things that I have pledged to do is to work on staffing levels and look at the entire department and making sure that the deputies are deployed in the areas that are higher crime areas, that are areas that warrant our attention. And I'm going to be looking at the entire department to include the areas of Chowchilla, communities like Fairmead, to make sure that we have the proper coverage.
But you know what? Getting back to the pot grows, isn't it a losing battle without the air support? And even with the air support, isn't it almost a losing battle?
No, I don't look at it as a losing battle. I look at what those grows do and what they cause. Many of those grows lead to higher crimes. They're arming themselves to protect their grows. And then you have to look at the consequences to the environment, what's left. And so I just don't buy into this as a losing battle, and we shouldn't make that as part of our attention. I disagree with that. It should be the #1 attention in Madera County.
All right, but the lack of air support, though, that's a big thing, right?
It is, but then again, that's where you you work with other agencies at the state level.
Guns, a big issue?
Second Amendment is a big issue in Madera County. It's a big issue with me in regards to
protecting the Second Amendment right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And your ability for law-abiding citizens to carry a concealed weapon.
I'll give you 30 seconds. You can look in that camera there and tell people why you're qualified, what gives you the skill set to be sheriff in Madera County.
Excellent. Thank you. The reason I'm running for Madera County Sheriff is that I'm absolutely convinced I can make a difference. I have the experience necessary to do the job. I've been trained in a big department that is very professional, nationally recognized for its professionalism, and they're looking for a change in Madera County. They're looking for fresh leadership, someone who's a visionary and somebody who's willing to take on the task of making that department whole from a staffing level. That's what I plan to do. I've written grants, I've managed grants, I've worked in a big agency leading by example, and that's what I plan on doing if fortunate enough to be the next Madera County Sheriff.
Quickly, how do they get in touch with you? Website?
You know, you can go to my website, which is www.knollforsheriff.com, or on the website there's a phone number that you can call that goes directly to my campaign headquarters.
Greg, it's a pleasure seeing you again. It's been many years since
Absolutely.
I've seen you on the street there, but you're looking good, and good luck to you in the race.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Greg Noll, our guest today here on Connect with Me. We're glad that he had the time to stop by and talk to us for a few minutes. Tomorrow, Margaret Mims, the Sheriff of Fresno County. Hope you can join us then. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. How easy was that?
From the pages of history and the untamed prairies of a young nation comes one of television's and America's most memorable folk heroes.
Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man.
Well, you're Daniel Boone.
Yep. Fess Parker stars as the legendary Daniel Boone, with Ed Ames as his trusty sidekick, Mingo.
Pleasure indeed.
A Kentuckian named Daniel Boone.
That's me.
Watch Daniel Boone weekday mornings at 9, 8 Central on MeTV.